One of the easiest and cheapest ways that you can get to citizenship is definitely through citizenship by descent. We here at Nomad Capitalist have helped many people get their citizenship by descent, and if you think that you might be eligible or you think that you want to explore that route, apply to work with us and we can help you achieve those goals. My name is Alayna, and I've been working for a number of years with clients around the world, helping them optimize their taxes, figure out their immigration and lifestyle needs. Now, when we're talking about citizenship by descent, there are for sure pros and cons to this option. Obviously, the pro is that it is usually one of the cheapest ways to get a passport because you are basically entitled to kind of obtain that passport. So there is essentially no investment obligation there, and in return, you may get a Tier A passport. So what we mean when we say Tier A passport is usually a passport that has visa-free travel to many countries, including Europe, United States, Australia, Canada, and so on. So with little or no money, you're basically eligible to get a high-quality passport that will allow you visa-free access to many countries. So probably many of you have wondered whether you have some citizenship and some ancestry from Spain or some other European countries. And for those of you who didn't, we strongly encourage you to do so. Go through your family tree and see whether this may be an option for you, because usually it is a great backup option to have. A lot of people think that citizenship by descent is very quick to get, and it's usually a very straightforward process. And this can be true for situations where, for example, your parent is of certain descent and you're getting citizenship through your parent. However, if you're going through some other ancestors like grandparents or great-grandparents, then this process will likely take much longer to actually even apply for the citizenship, or sometimes even basically determine whether you are eligible or not. So the closer the ancestor, the faster the process is going to be, but the further away the ancestor is from you, the longer the process will likely take. Now, the second myth is that it is straightforward. As I mentioned, if your parents are of certain descent, then yeah, it can be very straightforward. But if they're not, then you have to determine dates of birth of your ancestors, dates of death if they're not alive anymore, dates of naturalization, when they moved from one country to another. So first of all, before even applying, you'll have to do a lot of digging through archives and similar to determine whether you're eligible. And then if you are, then you will do a lot of digging to obtain all the documents that are needed to be submitted in order to get this citizenship. In some situations, yeah, it can be easy and straightforward, but in many others, it is definitely not quick, it is definitely not easy, and it's not straightforward. The third myth basically is around eligibility and how to determine whether you are eligible or not. Different countries have different rules, and many of those only accept one generation born abroad to claim their citizenship. So that means that, for example, in Mexico, if your parents were Mexican and you were not born in Mexico, yeah, you can claim Mexican citizenship through your parents, but your kids, if they're not born in Mexico, will likely not be able to do so. Some countries only allow you to basically transfer your citizenship through descent to only one generation born abroad, and then there are some that go beyond that you can apply through grandparents or great-grandparents. First thing you need to see is where do your ancestors come from, and then determine what kind of type of laws does that country have regarding citizenship by descent, and whether you are able to qualify based on your situation and your circumstances, whether you were born in that country or not, where were your parents born, when were they naturalized, did they lose their citizenship, and so on. Many factors come into play when determining whether you are eligible. Then you also have some exceptions to that rule. For example, in the UK, second generation born abroad usually cannot get citizenship. However, if your grandparents or grandfather was serving in the military during the time where your parent was born, then yes, you may be eligible for UK passport. So as you see, there are a lot of nooks and crannies that you would need to look through in order to actually determine whether you're eligible. There are many exceptions. So at first glance, while it may seem that you may be eligible, that you are eligible or that you are not eligible, that might not be the case. We've had cases where people come to us and they say, yeah, no, I don't have citizenship by descent. But then when we kind of ask around more questions, we do figure out that they actually have and potentially can claim either citizenship by descent or sometimes in some cases, let's say residence through their ancestors if they're only accepting one generation born abroad. However, there were many others when it seemed like it's pretty straightforward. Oh, my grandfather was Canadian, and yeah, I can qualify for Canadian citizenship, but Canada has a bit different rules. So that means that, again, second generation born abroad would not be able to get the passport through the grandfather. So, as I said, many nooks and crannies that you would need to look into to first determine eligibility. Once you determine eligibility, another myth surrounds the documentation and paperwork that is required in order to get this going, get the application submitted and get it going. So the biggest chunk of time that you will lose is spending on whether you're eligible, and once you're determining that you are eligible, then collecting the documents before submitting the application. So that's why we always say that it's not a process that takes very little time. Obviously, if your ancestors are alive, like parents or grandparents, obviously it's going to go a lot quicker because they can tell you all the information that you need. But if you're applying through a grandparent and they're not alive anymore, you will probably need a lot more time in order to collect all the documents and kind of check all the information. Documentation can also be a very huge hassle to obtain because sometimes you will need to go through archives. Obviously, there are countries that, for example, existed 30, 45, 50 years ago that don't exist anymore. So you may have to go through all of that, like USSR, like Yugoslavia, and similar countries that don't exist anymore. And maybe your ancestor was born in one of these, and then you have to figure out where exactly do they belong now, which country would be your country of descent. Now, the last myth is regarding the benefits of the citizenship by descent. And if sometimes we've seen people that kind of back off from the citizenship by descent, they say, I don't need a citizenship right now, it's a huge hassle, I don't want to get into it, there's not a lot of benefits for me anyways. However, what people often kind of forget is that, especially EU citizenship, doesn't give just you as the main applicant opportunities to get citizenship and enjoy that EU lifestyle, but also gives your family an opportunity to either get a residence or citizenship through you. And that's, let's say, European citizenship, which gives them the right to work, live, and study in Europe. So when you're thinking about citizenship by descent, and if you're having you have a European citizenship by descent specifically, that's definitely something we would encourage you to go towards and obtain it. If you need help, you can apply to work with us, and our team will guide you through the processes successfully. The thing to remember is that your spouse can also get citizenship through you in some cases. Sometimes it takes a year, 2, 3, 5 years, but still, it can be a very favorable thing for them to get. And your kids can sometimes get citizenship through you immediately, just because you obtain that citizenship. For example, Italian, your kids can also get Italian citizenship. And then the whole family has the opportunity to work, live in any European Union country that you wish. You can move around freely, register as an Italian citizen living in Portugal, register as an Italian citizen living in Switzerland, and so on. It gives you many opportunities that you probably don't have right now. And it will take some of your time and some of your money to get that going and to actually obtain the passport. But when you weigh the pros and cons and the cost, it is definitely a great solution for a second citizenship.